With new direction came big changes for the Miami Heat.
Arguably the greatest basketball coach in the history of the sport, and now he was with the Heat.
There's this image in my mind about the symbolic parade, this championship parade.
All of a sudden, the Miami Heat had something it never had before. It had an identity. We're the hardest working, toughest, nastiest team in the NBA.
That season was the season that he became rock stars.
Witness the birth of one of the most intense rivalries in sports.
Watch out, this one's going to get really ugly.
And it ignited one of the greatest comebacks in history.
Hardaway for three!
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another special edition of Inside the Heat. I'm Eric Reed. In their first 7 years as an NBA franchise, the Miami Heat enjoyed one winning season and twice made it to the playoffs, where both times they were eliminated in the first round. Not bad for an expansion team, but not noteworthy otherwise. Then, in the summer of 1995, Mickey Arison changed the course of Heat history and set the tone for a new era of Heat basketball with a first of many bold moves. All of a sudden, word starts to emanate from New York City that the Heat and Pat Riley had begun talking.
Mickey wanted to win an NBA championship. And so what did he do in the offseason? Well, he went out and got the best guy he could possibly get, Pat Riley.
Mickey basically said, I don't care what it costs, what it takes. I'm going to make sure that my team has everything that it needs to become a contender.
That I wanted to get the best head coach possible. Pat was the best head coach available, maybe the best head coach in the league.
It's my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce you to the new president and head coach of the Miami Heat, Pat Riley. Pat.
He took the job. We now sit on board one of the Carnival ships.
I believe that we could go down and change the culture and we could turn it quick.
I think the fortunes of the team dramatically changed when Pat came aboard.
It was clear that the Heat were determined to make a statement about who they were and the importance, really, of the Miami market.
Here we are sitting here, and arguably the greatest basketball coach in the history of the sport, and now he was with the Heat.
There's this image in my mind about the symbolic parade, this championship parade, and that's the only reason that I coach.
Everything we did from that day forward was based upon what is going to lead to that parade down Biscayne Boulevard.
Because that's really what sports does. It gives you hope that this is the person who takes you to the promised land.
Pat Riley did not waste any time. 17 days into his tenure, he hired his former Laker assistant, Randy Fund, as the Heat's executive vice president.
I knew if Pat was going to be in Miami, it was going to be first class, and we were going to build a winner.
Mickey is the one that said, hey, change it. Let's make this a first-class franchise.
Riley has always believed that the way you win in the NBA is to get a dominant big man. And so he looked around, and the first guy he went after was Alonzo Mourning.
I remember getting a call in the middle of the night from Pat saying Alonzo Mourning's available to trade. It's going to be very expensive, but if we pull the trigger, it's going to make a huge difference in the future of this franchise.
Just 2 days before the start of the season, Pat Riley sent Glenn Rice to Charlotte for Alonzo Mourning in a 6-player blockbuster trade.
Look at him try!
He was the closer. You could see why they wanted him to sort of be the Wall Street character in the movies. He got deals done.
I think I'm fortunate to be in this situation right now. I will be playing under one of the greatest coaches that ever coached the game.
It was very exciting knowing someone the caliber of Alonzo and what he would bring to the franchise.
The shot!
All of a sudden, the Miami Heat had something it never had before. It had an identity.
It was like a godsend. I didn't expect something like that to happen this quickly, and that just sort of launched. It really did. It really launched the start of my tenure here in a very positive way.
The Heat launched its new era, winning 11 of their 14 games. In mid-December, the Heat faced the Knicks in New York.
And there's always been an inherent rivalry between Miami and New York.
Something has to happen to make that rivalry happen.
Going back to New York, I knew what was coming. I was getting nasty letters from fans. I was getting death threats.
And I can remember the headlines in the paper, Pat the Rat coming back.
Pat the Rat.
Pat the Rat. It was really comical.
By the end of February, the Heat were languishing at 24-29. Once again, Pat Riley dramatically changed his team. At the trading deadline, in one of the biggest trading days in NBA history, Miami completed 3 separate deals involving 10 players that would include the acquisition of Tim Hardaway. But before they could arrive in Miami, there was a game to be played against the world champions.
We had 8 guys. I mean, we had to hustle Tony Smith in here like quick to even be legal. And if we didn't, we're going to have to sign somebody off the street.
With only 8 players available, Rex Chapman led Miami to one of their most unlikely and memorable wins in franchise history.
Rex for 3. Oh boy, Rex Chapman!
Pat Riley gets his most pleasing and most significant win as the head coach of the Miami Heat.
It came at the right time. I needed a new scenery, I needed new life. You could tell that the energy was here. They wanted something to happen now. I got skills.
With Tim and Alonzo, we had our first national stars.
Those 2 guys turned the franchise around.
Hardaway!
When Pat Riley and Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway got here, they became the core and the identity of the Heat.
Got it to show for the stuff.
Riley's first Heat team finished with a 42-40 record and made the 1996 playoffs.
We made the playoffs. The fans were excited. We got beat, of course, by the Bulls, but we had something going for us.
Tim Hardaway
took it away from Jordan and laid it in.
Despite being swept by the Bulls, the Heat were optimistic about their future under Pat Riley.
It was just the beginning of what was to come in the Pat Riley year in Miami.
Welcome back to Inside the Heat. In the summer of 1996, the Miami Heat made more changes to an improving roster. On consecutive days in July, they signed a pair of coveted free agent forwards. First came Juwan Howard, followed by P.J. Brown. However, Juwan Howard never wound up playing for the Heat. The NBA disallowed his contract. They did retain P.J. Brown, and he would become an important person and a key role player on some of the best teams in Heat history.
After the Juwan Howard situation fell apart, we had already signed PJ, and I don't think that any of us, myself included, realized what an athlete we were getting.
PJ was sort of an unknown factor at the time we made the trade and became an incredibly valuable player.
He did every little thing that you could ask for: hustle, rebound, block shots. He did everything.
On August 22nd, 1996, the Heat added another important piece to the puzzle in veteran Dan Marley, a 2-time NBA All-Star.
When Dan came to Miami, I was like, whew, all right, I got Thunder on my team.
For a Thunder Dan 3. Thunder!
Dan Marley added a lot to this franchise as a defender, a great 3-point shooter, and an outstanding passer.
That first year I got there, I was surrounded by a great team. You know, Keith Askins and Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning. One of the best experiences I've had as a player.
Together, Dan and PJ were a perfect fit to Miami's core group, and they would embody Pat Riley's philosophy and mindset.
They are the ones that planted the seed that established the foundation. Rizzo, you know, and Keith and Tim Hardaway. A real foundation and a work ethic that I think made sense, mattered, counted, and was respected around the league.
Coach knew that to win, you needed a team, and he knew that he needed Tim and Zoe. They were our superstars. They were the guys that led us night in, night out in games. But he also knew that you needed role players also to have a complete team, and you needed guys who weren't going to get all of the shots, guys who were going to come out and play their roles and do their job to the best of their ability.
Leonard!
The 96-97 Heat had the look and feel of an NBA contender, winning 14 of their first 18 games, 9 of them on the road. Their defense and conditioning earned them the nickname the Road Warriors.
We relish the fact of being able to go into another opponent's arena. Hey, we're going to outwork you, we're going to out-hustle you, we're going to beat you up, and we're coming to win the game.
Oh my, he blew by, rammed it.
I mean, it was amazing how we played the game defensively and how we just shut teams down defensively.
When we stepped on the court, people and players knew that it was going to be the toughest game that they were going to play because we were going to make you work, and we were going to make it a living hell on the basketball court.
Dan Marley for 3. Wow! Wow! 3 seconds left. Leonard double pumps and hits. He hit it, and the Heat win.
Majerle Leonard, a free agent out of the CBA, emerged as a three-point shooting threat and a determined defender. Together with Tim Hardaway, they formed one of the league's best backcourt duos.
Majerle Leonard, probably the best shooter that I ever coached. Pure shooter.
On the court, strong, can shoot the ball, can stroke it. He played a tremendous part on our team.
Let's get ready to rumble! There it is. Can you feel the heat down in your soul?
Miami was feeling the heat, and Pat Riley was feeling the need to add one final piece, acquiring the high-scoring athletic swingman Jamal Mashburn from Dallas on February 14, 1997.
He was considered the X factor. He could handle the ball like a point guard. He could shoot the ball from the three-point line like a three-man. He just made our team that much better.
The 96-97 Road Warriors were a group of talented and unselfish players who did whatever it took for the greater good of the team, and all had one goal in mind: a championship.
I was just astonished that everybody came together and would diminish a role or step up a role or on any given night step into another contribution and be okay with it.
We're the hardest working, best conditioned, most unselfish, toughest, nastiest team in NBA.
That was the mantra from the first day that I walked in, and wanted our players to look to that as a philosophy and to make that part of what we are, and they did. And I think that what we did went out to the NBA.
Welcome back to Inside the Heat. The 1996-97 team was the hardest working, most talented team Miami had seen yet. The Heat was now 9 years old and were, for the first time, a championship contending team. They were also on their way to the best regular season in Heat history.
I believe a lot of teams that came in and played us, they didn't want to play against us. Our guys worked hard. They're in great shape. They came at you defensively, and it wasn't going to be an easy night.
A steal by Mourning and a breakaway. Alonzo Mourning. Alonzo Mourning.
On April 10, 1997, with their first ever Atlantic Division title in reach, the Heat beat the Pistons and needed a loss from New York to clinch the division.
Miami gets it done, and it's just a matter of time until the Atlantic Division Championship is theirs.
Moments later, the Bulls-Knicks game was piped live into the Miami arena. For both the fans watching the Jumbotron and the players, it was surreal.
A huge contingent of people, including the Harrison family, were all standing in the hallway at the Miami Arena, looking up on the TV screens to see if we were going to win the division title.
And it is over. The Knicks have lost. The Heat are champions of the Atlantic Division.
It was the first thing that was tangible that we won.
What was your first chance to get a taste of something that was going to lead ultimately to the banner?
Yes, sir.
This is what we're shooting for. This is where we want to be at. We want an Atlantic Division title, but the big goal was to win an NBA championship.
Just before entering the 1997 NBA playoffs, the Heat had one last milestone to reach, winning their 60th game. They were up against the world champion Bulls, who were going for a goal of their own, their 70th win.
It was sweet because we denied them this great regular season goal they had.
A triple. Got it!
And we accomplished a great regular season goal that we had.
The Heat win their 60th game at Chicago's expense.
I think they have gotten the swagger, the confidence that they need to be champions.
The Heat finished the 96-97 season with 61 wins and 21 losses, the best regular season record in Heat history. The Road Warriors dominated and were 32-9 in visiting arenas, still a franchise best.
That season was the season the Heat became rock stars. That's when you went to every town and you were the team that everyone wanted to beat.
The Heat entered the playoffs brimming with confidence and were matched up in the first round against their former expansion rivals, the Orlando Magic.
1, 2, 3.
Pat Riley's team blew through games 1 and 2 at home and were on their way to a sweep.
Oh my! What a block by Mourning!
We came to that game and we just jumped all over the Magic, and I don't think they knew what hit them.
This is team basketball at its best.
And then it seemed like the momentum seemed to carry over in the second game, and it was much the same.
Form holds here again in Miami as the Heat go up 2-0 on the Orlando Magic.
As the series shifted to Orlando for games 3 and 4, Miami got out to a good start, but before you could spell sweep, the series changed dramatically.
We was up by 20 again, on the way to another blowout, and then all of a sudden, Ronnie Cycli sprains his ankle.
This might well be the very last we see of Ronnie Cycli.
It was like a switch flipped. I mean, it was the complete opposite.
We go to Orlando and we lose 2 games in a row.
Penny! Oh my goodness! He is putting on a spectacular show.
Penny went off for 40 both games. Incredible game. He just totally took the game over.
A pull-up 3. The man is on fire, folks.
And the 2 players that changed the whole series was Darrell Armstrong's full court pressure and Penny Hardaway's greatness. And there's no doubt that by the time we left Orlando after those 2 thrashings that we took down there, that we had a tiger by the tail now.
With the series now tied at 2, the Heat headed back to Miami for Game 5, and the pressure was on. The whole season came down to this one deciding game.
The tension was like 20 times as high as it ever been.
Miami built a 17-point lead, but the Magic battled back, closing to within 3 points in the final seconds.
Hardaway for 3, and it's a 3-point game.
The legend of Tim Hardaway, it began to grow in Miami with that game. When the Heat needed to score most late in the game, Tim Hardaway made the biggest shot of that night.
Hardaway for 3.
Orlando played very, very well, but we made enough shots, and then I made that last shot to put us up to win a ball game.
It didn't come easy, but the Miami Heat, for the first time in franchise history, has won a playoff series.
That series, it was a tough one, but it was a wake-up call that we really had to finish games out.
We saw both ends of the spectrum in a positive way. That lesson that still teaches playoff teams today, that it's never over until it's over.
On May 8, 1997, Pat Riley was named Coach of the Year, becoming the first coach in NBA history to win Coach of the Year honors with 3 different franchises.
Welcome back to Inside the Heat. As the 1997 NBA playoffs move forward, for the first time, so did Miami. Having survived and advanced past Orlando, an even more compelling drama was about to begin. In the Eastern Conference semifinals, Miami would face the New York Knicks. A rivalry that had been simmering for years was about to boil over.
This is going to be a rivalry on so many levels. First of all, it was Pat Riley against his old team. It was Alonzo Mourning versus Patrick Ewing, 2 Georgetown buddies. It was New York versus Miami.
You had the Van Gundy brothers. It existed on so many different levels. You know, you couldn't script that.
There was always this feeling in the Miami arena that there were as many Knicks fans in the arena as there were Heat fans.
There were so many Knicks jerseys that at times it was tough to handle.
The series was played with that kind of venom between the cities. It was just played like we hate them and they hate us.
It was just inevitable that this was going to be a war.
There was Alonzo Mourning and Patrick Ewing, probably 2 of the best big men to play the game.
Enzo was one of those guys like, hey, I'm the pupil, but I've grown a lot. I'm not the same guy that I was that you remember at Georgetown, and I'm coming out here to kick your butt also.
We have definitely a brotherly type relationship off the court. When we were in between those lines, you know, it was a totally different attitude.
It's just like 2 gladiators that know each other, don't want to go against each other, but have to.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Miami forces the issue. What a pass! Bodies falling all over Ewing. Oh, wow!
Patrick Ewing's 24 points led the Knicks to a Game 1 win in Miami. 2 nights later, Tim Hardaway's 34-point performance helped the Heat even the series with a Game 2 victory.
Tim Hardaway right now is going to work. I mean, he is taking over this game.
The series was just heating up. It was on to New York for Games 3 and 4.
We were not just going into a hostile game. You were going to a hostile city.
Walking into that building, the hatred that was being cast down upon us was like, you know, nothing I've felt in any arena ever.
In a defensive struggle, the Heat lost Game 3, and 1 night later, New York took control. The Knicks took a 3-1 lead in the series and were ready to close it out.
When they left after Game 4, they thought, okay, we're just going to wrap up this Miami Heat team. They're not good enough.
Not many teams have come back from 3-1, you know that.
No, but it's possible. We're not out of this. We're going back home, and we're going to take advantage of that.
On May 14th, the series shifted back to the Miami Arena for Game 5.
We were down 3-1. It was a must-win situation.
Here comes Hardaway, loose ball. Hardaway finds Deshaun Leonard for three.
In the fourth quarter, as the Heat's lead grew, so did the tension.
You will not do this in our house. No, not tonight.
It was a very emotional game, a lot of drama, a lot of guys throwing cheap elbows. It was just nasty out there. At the end, came to the free throw line, the game was over in my mind. Mr. Ward, you know, we kind of got tangled up a little bit, and I say to this day, I can't really remember what happened after that.
P.J. Brown throws Charlie Ward, watch out. This one's gonna get really ugly.
P.J. Brown is the most mild-mannered, polite, Mr. NBA citizenship, and to see him levitate Charlie Ward, and then the next thing you know, all heck is breaking loose.
People were banging their feet and pounding chairs, and it was just crazy.
The Game 5 brawl resulted in suspensions for Patrick Ewing, Allen Houston, and Charlie Ward for Game 6, Larry Johnson and John Starks for Game 7. Miami would play the rest of the series without P.J. Brown.
I was suspended, so I had to watch the game from my hotel room, which was excruciating.
Pat Riley said to his team that night at Madison Square Garden, the visitors' dressing room before Game 6, he said somebody else has got to play with the heart of P.J. Brown tonight.
And here's Oakley, rejected by Austin. What a play by Isaac Austin. So, oh no, a three for Zoe. Oh, he hit it! He hit it! Mourning strikes for three. Game 7, here we come. And it has come down to this, the 7th and final game of the Eastern Conference semi-final series.
It was like the ultimate fighting championship, It was just get us to the last round and they'll tap out.
On a Sunday afternoon, in front of a national television audience, NBA fans witnessed one of the greatest performances in Heat history.
After Zoe committed his 5th foul, Zoe went out, and it was a timeout, and you could just see the guys facing the huddle like, man, what we gonna do? And that's when I knew that I needed to take over the game right then and there.
He can take over a ball game. Fires again.
Tim was Mr. Big. He made the big shots.
Hardaway for three.
That's what this game is all about. Players will rise to the occasion.
Hardaway for three.
And they will become remembered, forever.
It is all over. Miami Heat have become the 6th team of the history of the NBA to come back from a 3-1 deficit.
In Miami's first ever appearance in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Heat faced the Chicago Bulls.
It was just a matter of, hey, they got the best player on the planet on the other team, so it makes it quite difficult.
Jordan, perfect. The Chicago Bulls defeat the Miami Heat. They win the series in 5.
That was the team that I felt we could develop into a championship contender. There was only one problem. Is that you had Michael Jordan in the Eastern Conference and the Chicago Bulls. And sometimes you can do the best job of anybody, but there's still one team that's so good that's going to be in your way.
Unfortunately, the Heat could not get past Michael Jordan and his Chicago Bulls. But this young franchise was making big strides, and it had the most successful season to date. But the best was yet to come. Thanks for watching this edition of Inside the Heat. I'm Eric Reed.